From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden Neville.
On today's episode, the Ticats released their depth chart for Saturday's game, and there's some big changes, including Jameer Davis suiting up for the black and gold, and he talks about what it's like to be back on the field. Coach O discusses what some of those new lineup additions need to do against Winnipeg. Jameer Thurman discusses what needs to be done defensively to contain Zach Collaros and that Winnipeg offense. And Brian Simmons joins me to break down tomorrow's game. It's Friday, September 15th, 2023, and you're listening to Ticats Today. Here we go. It's Friday, everyone's favorite day of the week, and the Ticats have closed out their week of practice with their walkthrough, and the preparations are done. We are now ready for this game tomorrow night to finally see these two teams go at it once again, except this time at Tim Hortons Field in front of a packed house of Ticats fans, and the team coming into town is nothing to shake a stick at. The Bombers are good all across the board, but this is a challenge that the Ticats are welcoming, and they got a full week to prep, unlike last week when they had pretty much no time whatsoever. Coach mentioned that today. We will get to that in a second, but the Ticats released that depth chart for the game, and there's some pretty major changes. On offense, Matthew Shiltz will be your backup, which is a great sign because although he dressed last week, he was that third-string guy, so this is another positive step in the right direction for Matthew Shiltz. And there's a chance we maybe see him in at some point, but unsurprisingly, Taylor Powell will be getting the start, which as he should. He played great against Ottawa. Aside from that, we aren't seeing anything too crazy. Bayless will once again start at the slot after having a solid game last week, but the big changes are coming on the defense. Jameer Davis is at defensive end. He won't start, but coach said we will see him in some plays, and there's potential to see him in quite a few plays. It's been a long time coming for the big man, and we will hear from him in just a bit. Rich Leonard and Tunde Adeleke are out, which means that Dexter Lawson Jr. and Lawrence Woods are in. Lawson at half and Woods at the corner. It's not like these guys are coming in fresh. They've both seen their fair share of minutes throughout the season. Woods was the starter at safety before Katsantonis took over that role. But here's an opportunity for two guys to show what they've got against a very good Winnipeg offense. Coach O spoke about what he expects from those guys to fit in and more.
Just to make their play when it comes to them. They're for sure going to get tested, and that's expected, but it's a team game, so we'll be able to support, and they're here for a reason. And when they're given opportunity, that's all you can really ask for in life and in this game is opportunity. And when it arises, we just ask people to simply just make their play.
And then overall, how do you think the week has gone? You've had a little extra time to prepare, unlike last week where you had that 2-day turnaround.
Well, there's going to be more. Anything's going to be more prep time than last week. I thought the coaches have done a great job. I think we did a nice job of balancing rest and getting work done. And our job is always to prepare, and the players' job is always to perform. So, I'm pleased with it. But there's a test at the end of every week, and so it's time for us to play the game. The prep's over. No, Jameer will play. He'll be out there. I know he's chomping at the bit. We're excited to have him back. We'll have a full complement there on the D-line. We just want Jameer to be Jameer. Come out there and be disruptive, make his plays when they come to him, wreak havoc when he can. And other than that, like I said, same with the secondary. It's a team game. So he'll go as our interior goes and as we cover. I see a team that's confident. I see that they're well coached. They have belief. They've been behind in quite a few games this year and just not really been phased. They kind of, as they would say, they kind of have the heart of a champion. And obviously they resemble their head coach well. Obviously I know Osh real well. So they're a good football team. They're 10-3 for a reason, or I think that's what they are. But we don't focus on those things. We watch tape and we prepare a plan for them, but our focus always remains on ourselves and what we can get accomplished and just keep it about football. Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but, Taylor really confirmed what we have seen internally for quite a while. The one thing that Taylor didn't have was experience, and he has that now. He's gaining more experience, so decision-making is becoming, you could say slower. I could just say he has a better understanding of what's going on. So if you really rewound this from the beginning, you'd hear me say things like, the game's not too big for Taylor. He prepares. He loves football. That's the foundation that Taylor's built on. The other stuff is, come into it. He has a better relationship with the receivers. He's understanding when to get rid of the ball, when to take sacks, those type of things. So it's just confirmation of what we see every day in practice. I say that was awesome for last year. It was very defining last year. Don't mind talking about it. We have a whole new football team, whole new set of leaders. Has no bearing on this year. Don't mind talking about it. We're proud of that effort that we put forth. It did help catapult us a little bit. So for those that were around, sure, you don't mind talking about it. But is there any carryover for this year? Absolutely not.
That was Coach O. Jameer Thurman will look to continue his strong season against Winnipeg, and this Winnipeg team is a group that he knows well. I mean, being in Calgary the last few seasons, he knows them very well, and he spoke about what needs to be done against the top team out west.
You got to limit the explosion plays. That offense feeds off those big passes to their receiver. The offense has been together for a very long time, so they know exactly where they need to be. They know exactly where he's going to put the ball and everything. So, with us as a defense, we have to limit those big plays and give ourselves a chance, to make plays as well on those big plays too.
And then going up against Caleros, how big is it to get him off his game?
I mean, it's huge. It's huge. He's been MOP the last 2 years of the league. We know what we're going up against, and we got to go out there and make the plays. They're a team that makes little mistakes. So when they do make the mistakes, we got to capitalize on those and then help our team win the game. Yeah, every week is another opportunity to feed off of the last. We pulled out a win after a short week versus Ottawa. That was big for our team, showing that, even on a little rest, we can still find a way to win. So I think that, just each week you find that new motivation to bring into the game and just go out there, execute, and try to make sure you get the win. Well, this is my first year here, so I can't really speak from experience. But at the same time, I have played here before, and I did not come away with a lot of wins. And this year, it's been a little different for sure. I think at the end of the day, guys have to look in the mirror and understand that, they got to take pride in playing here at home. And pride for the city, the fans that show up every single day. It's little details, execution, discipline that's been reasons why we have not won at home. So, guys, just take a look in the mirror and see what can you do differently. Things have not been working well in the past. So what's one thing that you can do differently that might change the outcome this next time? It's all about communication with the guys. Communication goes a long way. And, the more you communicate with the guys that, you haven't been playing with a lot on the field, the easier it is for them, because when you communicate more, that means the more confident you are on the field. So I think that just communicating, letting guys know where you are, that you're there, and next play mentality and all that stuff, it goes a long way, and it's a long game, and when that play comes, you just go ahead and make it. Those guys know that too. Right. We've been watching film all week. We know what type of quarterback he is. When he sees someone like that in there that hasn't been there for a while, he's going to attack it. So they're going to have many opportunities to go make plays. It's just we got to capitalize on those when he tries them and, get the ball back to our offense as much as possible.
That was Jameer Thurman. I mentioned earlier that Jaguar Davis will fit in at defensive end. He's not starting, but Coach O mentioned he will play, and it's an awesome story to see him back and getting that chance. Mr. Grey Cup back in the mix. He isn't ready to give up just yet, and he told me how it feels to be back practicing and playing with the team.
Man, first and foremost, I'm thankful. Just being able to get back out there on the field with the guys, running around, yelling, screaming, doing what we love to do. Great feeling.
You're dressing in this game. Is there some extra excitement there? You're playing at Tim Hortons Field. You're going to be dressing in the game instead of being on the sidelines. You'll actually get to be dressed and suited up.
Oh, absolutely. It's always a pride thing when you get to put on the black and gold. Right now we got one of the former guys we stood on the shoulders. C.J. Gables we honoring him in the game, and that's what he did for this program. It makes a lot when you get to put that color on again and get the opportunity to represent such a great team, such a great fan base. So it's only right that I got to give my all. A roller coaster. But for me, in all roller coasters I've been on, the ending is always the best part. Absolutely. So I'm sure we've had our ups and downs, our twists and turns, but I know what the end result is going to be. And it's the same thing correlating for the football season. So sure, it started off rocky, but the end goal is the same, and that's get to the Grey Cup. Absolutely. You have to. It's this game is a short-lived game, so you have to focus on being in the moment and not dwelling on past and stuff that didn't go your way. Like at the end of the day, you got to make the most of the opportunity when you have out there, regardless of wherever you are. So when it's being said, when you're here, make it the most, make it count, because what you're gonna remember is the stuff of what you did and who you did it with, and the group of guys that we have in this organization. I wouldn't want to do it with nobody else.
That was Jameer Davis. Joining me now is Brian Simmons. Brian, funny story, actually. Today I was talking to a former teammate of yours who's going to be our alumnus of distinction for the game on Saturday, CJ Gable. To start things off, before we get into this Blue Bombers Ticats preview, what was your time like with him, and what can you tell me about playing with CJ?
Oh, honestly, I truly mean this. He was my favorite Ticat running back that I ever played with. Electrifying, always gave it his all every time. Never ever seen him take a snap where it looked like he was asleep out there. So definitely just a hard working guy, and I know he was dinged up a little bit here and there, but it was definitely nice to see him had that amazing year that he had in Edmonton as well. So great player, very good player.
Yeah, no, and it was nice to get to chat with him. He was obviously here before me, but yeah, just looking at some of the highlights and watching him back in the day, the guy was a monster. Let's dive into this game because there's a lot to dive into here. Ticats Blue Bombers Saturday at Tim Hortons Field, an afternoon game at 4:00. Let's start with the quarterback on the other side. Zach Collaros is making his case for a third straight MOP award. How do you contain this guy?
In all honesty, with Zach, you gotta, and I say this every week, Brady, so I know people get tired of me hearing it, but it's the formula. It is.
Yeah.
You can't make it easy for them. You gotta, first of all, stop that run game of theirs, because they have a balanced offense. They like to keep you guessing.
Yep.
And then once you stop that, then you have to, on this second and long, you have to make those plays count. Get in Zach's face, don't make it easy for him, because I feel like of all the quarterbacks in this league, he is the one guy. If you just let him sit back there and just pick you apart, it's going to be a long day. It's
For
going to be
sure.
a real long day. So you have to, make him have to make those decisions much quicker.
And Coach O mentioned, I asked him about the deep ball and that threat that he poses, being able to throw deep and make those big plays. But Coach O said he's one of those guys who can make plays, whether it's middle yardage or short yardage or those long yardage plays. He can kind of get you any type of way.
Oh yeah, of course.
And he also has these options at receiver. He's got Schoen, Lawler, and Dembski. Those guys are all top 10 or close to it in the league in receiving. When you have so many threats, is it tough for that secondary to kind of focus on one guy? You just got to step up on that guy you're given?
Yeah, you really just have to step up with whatever your assignment is. And this is one of those games where you just got to have some amnesia. You have to forget about the great plays you make and forget about the bad ones you make and just keep it going, because it's like you said, they have a very high-powered offense, and it all stops. You got to start by making them one-dimensional, or at least making them feel that way.
Mm-hmm. And then coming into the game on that Ticats secondary, the injuries of Rich Leonard and Tunde Adeleke, in steps Lawson Jr. and Lawrence Woods, two guys who have played for the Ticats and who have been on that secondary throughout the season. But what do they need to keep in mind against such a potent receiving group stepping into a game maybe when they haven't in the last few weeks?
Well, I will say you got to be active and, know your assignments. And I'll sit here and say this, Brady, most games are won throughout the week, especially if you're a team that's not favored to win. How much film study did you put into, everyone has keys, make the game where it's predictable. Like I'll be honest, as an offensive lineman, when I'm lined up and I hear the defender saying, oh, here comes this play and it's the right play, or here comes this, to look out for that, it makes you just feel like, okay, these dudes been in their books. I mean, obviously you still have to go and get the job done, but when you have an edge on someone, it just means that much more. So like I said, hopefully these guys have been preparing themselves. I mean, Winnipeg, they put out a lot of film for people to see, and, they just be able to follow the keys.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier that run game is also explosive for Winnipeg, and they have Brady Oliveira, who's leading all rushers among the CFL in rushing yards. So you not only have possibly the best quarterback in the league, but one of the best running backs, if not the best, in the league against you. Just how do you contain him, and how important is it for them to limit his yardage in this game?
Well, this is a game where, those front 7, front 6 defenders, they really have to just, make their presence be felt. Winnipeg, they've always, even since when I played, they've always had a great offensive line. That was an offense, that I always dreamed of playing in because they have just such great balance. It's a very O-line friendly offense, and you get to let the guys play bully ball. So with that said, the guys up front, they just really have to make plays. You have to make plays and, make this type of game somewhat easier for your secondary because, they're going to be working all day long.
Oh, for sure. And on the Ticats side of the ball, they also have a pretty good running back making his case to be one of the best in the league, and that's James Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a guy you'd like to see going or get going early here?
Of course, because whenever you're playing a high-powered offense, the best way to keep them chilling is, keep them off the field,
Mm-hmm.
nice long drives, let Zach arm get a little cold, stuff like that. Just slow guys down and keep the offense in a rhythm while also helping our defense be able to recover and rest at the same time. Because you want the defense to be active when they're out there. So just keep giving that formula. Like last game, I know he didn't have a big rushing yardage, but just the fact that it was there and it was on the mind of Ottawa, it really helped, continue to the win and also with the big plays that were made downfield.
Going back just quick to CJ Gable, does JB almost remind you of him a little bit back when you used to play with him?
He does. He does because he got that same, electricity to him. And
Yeah.
like CJ, whenever he ran, you could just always see he had a plan. Like he wasn't just out there making stuff happen. Like, okay, this guy does this, I'm doing that and stuff. So he definitely does. He reminds me of him slightly.
Yeah, both guys could block, both guys could catch, and both guys could run. And I thought about that comparison. I actually mentioned that to CJ. I said James Butler, quite frankly, is a guy who plays a lot like you when we were talking earlier today. Another guy who's going to be huge for this Ticats offense and has been over the last several weeks, Taylor Powell, TP, the guy everyone's talking about throughout the week. Each game, it seems like he's gotten a little bit better. Last game, it felt like he made a huge leap. How important is it for him to make an even bigger leap here against such a good Winnipeg defense?
Well, like I've been saying since he's been in, he's improved to me. Each game he's gotten a little bit better. Like when I played, I used to always had his motto when I practice, I would say, let's get 1% better each day.
Mm-hmm.
Just 1%, just keep grinding and working. And you clearly see he's been studying. You see the poise there. You see when situations get a little bit ugly, he's not frantic. He's still keeping his composure. So, I think it'll be a great test for him because this is the type of defense if you want to have your composure tested, this is the type of defense to go against. They're going to be, the linebackers are good, the secondary is solid, the front is solid, so across the board, it's going to be a nice challenge for him. And I'm looking forward to see how he does because each week I do see the improvement and I just see the confidence and the poise coming to him.
Yeah. And do you think this has to be his biggest test yet, is this Bombers defense at home at Tim Hortons Field in front of that crazy Hamilton Tiger Cats fan base against such a good team?
Oh yeah, I think it'll be a great test because I know each game is different week to week.
Yeah.
But I know Winnipeg is thinking about, this exact position this time last year, how they had just beat Saskatchewan and came in here with an impressive record and they saw what happened. So I guarantee you, they are going to get the Blue Bombers' best effort tomorrow because I know they're talking about that. I know they are. So it'll be a great test for them.
So you think that's one of those things, because that's been mentioned throughout the week, how eerily similar these scenarios are, that this year you have Winnipeg coming off a big win against Saskatchewan, just like they did last year. You have Hamilton, who has a little bit better of a record than they did this time last year. But the situation seems very similar, and the games are only 1 day apart, a year apart. So are you using that almost as like, hey, look what happened, look what we did last year at this time, or is this like a whole different thing where it's a new team? Like, let's not even look at that.
It is a new team, so it's like, of course, the just let's get to the books, the X's and O's part. You want to say not look at that, but we're all human, and I think it's a reminder to both teams that, it could be a repeat or it could be motivation to make it different for both teams,
Yeah.
So, I think numbers wise, I want to say the loss probably wouldn't hurt Winnipeg that bad, but at the same time, I know these guys want to keep that momentum going. And I know Zach personally, and he would love to come in here and light Hamilton up, you know?
Yes.
So, so with that said, it's like, yeah, I think they have to be mentioning that. Like, I'd be extremely surprised if no one's not talking about that.
Oh, for sure. And I would say this game, could be the biggest statement of the year if the Ticats win this game, much like last year, because Coach was talking about it today. Like when they won that game last year against Winnipeg and in the way they did when beating them by so much, it really propelled them to being on a roll on that third of the season, the end of the season. So this could be one of those games potentially. Do you believe that propels them, like could give them that push?
I think it could because I mean, if you could beat this team, you can beat anyone in this league, and honestly, for them to get to the Grey Cup, right now it goes through Toronto.
Yep.
And, they have them coming up in a few weeks, not to look too far ahead, but it's like those are the two top teams that you want to be able to say, we were able to, beat them and not just compete with them. So it's definitely something that can, get the ball rolling and momentum, because momentum is a very powerful thing in a game of football.
One guy who has that momentum is Tim White. He's been the best receiver, in my opinion, in the league over the last few weeks. And do you expect him to get a little more attention from this Bombers defense since after seeing what he's done to teams over the last few weeks?
Oh yeah, like they're gonna cover him. Like I'm talking like when he goes to the washroom, they're gonna be there to help wash his hands. Like they're gonna cover this guy because he's been making it happen. Week after week. I mean, over 2 guys, 3 guys. Like the guy, he's just in the zone. And when you in a zone like that as a player, you kind of feel unstoppable, man. It's like it's a feeling. I can't explain it, but you just go out there, you do what you do, and good things happen. So
yeah,
I definitely think they'll be on to him, and I definitely think it'll open up some opportunities for other receivers as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought Omar Bayless was excellent in the time we saw him last game, and I think that's another guy that potentially, if Tim White's not getting those looks, you could see him or Terry Godwin, I think, be those guys to step up. There could be some history made in this game. It is a little bit difficult for Simone Lawrence to do it against the Bombers, but he has the chance to break into the top 10 in CFL career tackles if he gets 10 tackles. Is that something you think you could see Simone doing this game, or is that maybe something we might see next week?
I think it is possible, but I think it all depends on what kind of game plan Winnipeg plans on doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if they're constantly running the ball and doing some mid-range passing, I think it could be possible. I think it could be. Obviously, I know it's something he probably would rather see, done at home anyway. So I know he's probably gunning for it. I'm sure he's gunning for it.
I was talking to him earlier in the week, and it's 10 to tie it, 11 to pass it. And Simone, he didn't say he's for sure going to do it, but let me tell you, when is Simone Lawrence not confident that he can do something? So the one problem it seems like this season is winning at home. They've been able to win on the road, but getting those victories at home. How big is that? Like, is that something you've seen before? I think we've talked about this before, but how big is it to start getting some wins here at home in front of this home crowd?
Yeah, you got to get it going because, I mean, ultimately, the reason why people like being at home because no travel, your bed, your routine, your comfort. And it's like, I don't know if guys are maybe taking too much advantage of that or something. I don't know if Coach O should have made them stay at a hotel room down the street or something, but they got to try something different because at home. And even though when I had some years I struggled with the Ticats, we always had, a home record that was at least respectable. It's like that's where you got to get the wins at, not don't go all the way to BC to get a win. Let's get one here.
Exactly. Let's not be watching these wins on TSN. Let's be watching them, live. Keys to victory for this team. If you can give me one or two, or how many keys do you think this Ticats team needs to secure a win here?
Honestly, and I feel like penalties, they've been okay with penalties lately. I haven't seen too many boneheads. So eliminate those. Don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. I think Taylor just has to keep that poise, keep his confidence, and just continue to make those good decisions. Like one thing about Zach, and I know he's a great quarterback, but Zach is the type of guy, he takes what the defense gives him. Oh, you're gonna leave my running back on the flats like that? Okay, 7 yards right there. Oh, he's not always looking for the home run play. And I think if Taylor can have some of that mindset, just taking what's there and, keeping that poise, that'll help a lot. Offensive line, they have to have a great game. And the defense as a whole, though, they just really have to really try to have one of the best outings of the season so far, because I think they're going to be tested. Try to get some turnovers, because Zach did have a couple of turnovers in the previous weeks as well. So, let's try to make some things happen, make the short field and special teams the part we always forget about. That's good. They'd be nice if we could have some good returns as well and great kicking game.
Yeah, no, I think all of those are pretty good points and pretty good things that would help towards a victory. Brian, as always, it's great having you on the show today, and we'll see you tomorrow at Tim Hortons Field at 4 o'clock for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Hamilton Ticats, and hopefully a W for the Cats. So once again, Brian Simmons, thanks for joining the show.
No problem, Brandon. Take care.
Big thanks to Brian Simmons, Jameer Davis, Jameer Thurman, and Coach O for being on the show today. Ticats fans, if you're going to the game tomorrow, you're in for a treat because tomorrow is the Canadian Football Hall of Fame induction game. That'll be happening at halftime, and we will be introduced to this year's CFHOF class of 2023 and some excellent new members going to the Hall. Families on the Field presented by Beneva will be going on, so everyone's welcome to go on the field post-game and play on the same turf as the big boys, as the Ticats. Flicks from the Field presented by Michael St. John Realty is also happening. They'll be screening the Super Mario Bros. Movie on the Tim Hortons Field video board following Families on the Field, and I've seen it. I mentioned it before. Great movie. I mean, Mario, who doesn't love Mario? And you got to give Luigi some love too. And happy hour also begins. $5 beers, that starts at 2:30. Who doesn't love the $5 beers? It's the best deal you can find around pro sports. I dare you to find a better one. It's South Plaza Saturday also, so join us in the South Plaza before kickoff. There's going to be inflatables, face painting, family fun, and of course autographs with alumni of distinction C.J. Gable. So much going on at the game tomorrow. It's going to be a great time, and thank you for listening to Ticats Today.